Have you ever felt a pull that couldn't be explained? A sudden knowing, like you've lived something before, but in a dream you can't quite recall. Not just déjà vu, not just a feeling, but a whisper from someplace beyond this lifetime. A whisper that says, you've been here before. The places you're drawn to, the people you instantly feel close to, the skills you never learned but somehow know. None of this is random. None of it is coincidence. These are echoes, traces, imprints left behind by your soul from lifetimes already lived. And today, quietly, sacredly, we're going to uncover the signs. Because the truth is, your soul has been trying to tell you, through dreams, through fears, through the strange longings that don't make sense. This isn't just a story, it's a remembering. If you're here, it's not by accident. Something deep inside you is ready to remember what it once knew, who it once was, and why it returned. So take a breath, quiet the mind, and listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. These are the 12 signs your soul has lived before, and the ancient truths they reveal about who you really are. Let's begin. Sign 1. Déjà vu that feels like home. You walk into a city you've never been to. The streets are foreign. The air smells different. The architecture belongs to a history you've only seen in books. But somehow, you know what's around the corner. You feel it in your chest. The twist of the alley, the warmth of the stone, the rhythm of the crowd. You've never been here, but you remember it. This is not ordinary déjà vu. This is soul memory. Science might call it a glitch in your brain. But what if it's not? What if it's a tear in the veil? A soft moment where your soul peeks through the illusion of time and says, we've walked this before. Many who've experienced this kind of déjà vu describe it not as a trick of the mind, but a longing of the heart, a sacred familiarity. Some even cry without knowing why, not from sadness, but from something older, a homesickness for a life they can no longer touch. These moments don't need proof. Your soul doesn't speak in evidence, it speaks in resonance. And if you've felt this kind of memory stir, your soul is remembering. Sign 2. Fears that don't belong to this life. There are fears you can trace. A childhood fall, a traumatic event, a parent's warning. But then, there are the other ones. The fear of deep water, though you've never drowned. The panic in tight spaces, though you've never been trapped. The terror of fire, though you've never been burned. These fears don't come from this life. They are echoes from another. Your body forgets, but your soul remembers. You might have drowned in a river long ago, burned in a house you once called home, been crushed in a cave-in that no textbook will ever record. And the fear still lives in your nervous system, waiting, reacting, shielding. It isn't irrational. It's ancestral, but not from your family line, from your soul's own story. And here's the sacred invitation. You're not meant to stay afraid forever. When you begin to understand where your fear truly comes from, healing can begin. The soul doesn't bring up the past to punish. It brings it up to release it. Sign 3. Instant connections with people you just met. There are people you take time to warm up to, and then there are those who feel like they've always been in your life. You meet them and something shifts, a comfort, a knowing, a strange, silent recognition. Maybe it's someone you fall in love with instantly, not out of lust, but out of something you can't explain. Maybe it's a friend you can speak to for hours, even on the first day. Maybe it's a stranger whose presence feels like home. You don't know why you trust them. You just do. Like you've known them forever. Because you probably have. The soul travels in groups. Over lifetimes, we meet again and again, in new roles, with new faces, but the same essence. A lover in one life might return as a teacher in the next. A child from your past may become a parent now. We come back not by accident, but by soul contract. When these connections spark, intense, immediate, undeniable, your soul is recognizing its companions. You're not falling into something new. You're continuing something ancient. And even the difficult relationships, the ones filled with tension or unresolved emotions, they're not meaningless either. Sometimes, the soul meets an old mirror to finish what was left incomplete, to heal, to forgive, to grow. The next time you feel that magnetic pull towards someone you barely know, pause. Look deeper. You may be reuniting with a soul who's been walking beside you for centuries. Sign 4, skills you were never taught, but somehow just know. Have you ever tried something for the first time, and somehow you just knew how? Maybe you picked up a brush and painted with the grace of someone who studied for years, or played an instrument you'd never touched, but your hands moved like they remembered. Perhaps you understand ancient languages, solve complex patterns, or grasp spiritual truths most spend decades trying to learn. And when someone asks where you learned it, you say, I didn't. I just feel it. That's because your soul has done this before. Gifts that appear suddenly and effortlessly are often echoes of mastery earned in another life. The body may be new, but the soul is ancient, and it carries every lesson, every talent, every hard-won ability across the veil of time. This is why children sometimes play symphonies, why someone with no training can sculpt like a Renaissance master, why a healer instinctively places their hands exactly where pain hides. The soul remembers what the mind cannot, and when those abilities reawaken, it's not a miracle. It's a return. So honor those gifts. They are sacred fingerprints left by your former selves, waiting to be used again. Sign 5. Recurring dreams that feel more like memories. Some dreams fade with the sunrise, but others stay with you. You wake with a pounding heart, your hands shaking, your mind spinning. Not from fantasy, but from something that felt too real to be a dream. You saw yourself in another time, another body, another life. Maybe you were walking through ancient temples in robes you've never worn, or standing in a battlefield, wounded, watching a flag you've never seen fall into the dust, or you were holding a child, one who doesn't exist in this world, and weeping for a loss you can't name. These dreams don't feel like fiction. They feel like memories, because they are. When you sleep, the conscious mind rests. The gates open, and your soul, unburdened by logic, begins to whisper. Sometimes it shows you fragments of who you've been, not to confuse you, but to awaken you, to say, you've lived before, you've loved before, and there are truths still buried in your heart. Pay attention to the details, the landscapes, the emotions, the faces. Keep a journal, not because you need proof, but because the soul speaks in symbols, and the more you listen, the more it will reveal. What if your dreams aren't just dreams, but a portal to who you once were? Sign 6, a strange pull toward certain cultures or time periods. You've never set foot in Japan, yet the sound of the shamisen makes your eyes well with tears. You've never been to Egypt, but the sight of the pyramids stirs something ancient in your bones. You're not Celtic by blood, but the music, the myths, The forests feel more like home than the city you grew up in. This is the soul's compass, quietly pointing you toward where you've once belonged. When a specific culture, era, or land calls to you so deeply that it bypasses logic, it's not fandom, it's memory, the architecture, the clothing, the rituals, even the tragedies. They speak to a part of you that remembers walking those streets, living those lives, carrying those customs like breath. It might explain why you feel so at peace in places others find strange, or why you grieve for times long past, as if you lost something personal. Because maybe you did. The soul does not forget its homes, and when the timing is right, it will begin to lead you back. Not to stay, but to remember. To remember where you've been, what you've known, and what parts of yourself you left behind in the dust of history. So follow that pull, that fascination, that ache. It's not fantasy. It's a breadcrumb trail back to you. Sign 7, feeling like an old soul in a young body. You've always felt older, not in your bones, but in your spirit. You look around at people your age, and their worries seem small. Their games feel foreign, their priorities misplaced. It's not judgment, it's distance. A quiet sense that you've already seen this story before, and you're ready for something deeper. You prefer silence over noise, depth over distraction, meaning over momentary pleasure. From childhood, you've asked questions others ignored. Why are we here? What is suffering for? What does love really mean? You've comforted others like someone who's lived through centuries. You've felt grief for things you couldn't explain, and you've known, without learning, how to sit with pain. This is not a flaw. It's not something broken. It's the sign of an old soul. When the spirit has passed through many lifetimes, felt the full spectrum of love, loss, wonder, betrayal, sacrifice, and awakening, it begins to carry a sacred heaviness, a wisdom that can't be taught, a stillness that doesn't belong to this noisy world. And while others run, you observe. While they chase, you pause. While they laugh, you listen, not because you don't care, but because you feel everything too deeply to pretend. Old souls are often born to remind the world of what it has forgotten. And though you may feel out of place, misunderstood, even lonely at times, you are not lost. You are ancient, and the world needs your remembrance. Sign 8, physical marks and sensations with no origin. The body forgets, but not always. Sometimes it carries echoes, subtle, strange, and persistent. A birthmark that looks eerily like a wound. A chronic ache in the same place for years, despite medical tests showing nothing. A sensation of pressure, restriction, or pain when you enter certain environments, without explanation. These aren't always medical. Sometimes they're metaphysical. Many believe that souls who've experienced traumatic or significant deaths carry those imprints into the next body, like a scar on the spirit that bleeds through into the flesh. There's the woman with an unexplainable pain in her neck, who later dreams, vividly and repeatedly, of being hanged. The child with a mark over the heart, who remembers being shot in battle. The man terrified of knives, who was once a butcher punished for mercy. These signs aren't meant to scare. They are invitations to investigate. Not everything needs to be remembered in detail. But when you begin to listen, truly listen, to your body's whispers, it may start revealing truths your mind has long buried. The body is not just a vessel, it's a sacred journal, etched with lifetimes you've lived and survived. Sign 9, emotional reactions that don't match the moment. Sometimes your reaction surprises even you. You cry at a film no one else finds moving. You're overwhelmed with joy by the sound of a language you don't speak. You feel sudden terror at the clang of metal, the smell of smoke, the touch of velvet. No trauma, no trigger, no reason. But your soul knows. The emotions come not from this life, but from another. It may have been a love story cut short by war, a sacred ritual desecrated by violence, a vow broken, a child lost, a betrayal that shattered something eternal. And though you don't remember the details, your soul still does. In flashes, in feelings, in waves that rise without warning. These are not overreactions. They are remembrances. What we cannot process fully in one life often returns in the next, not to haunt us, but to be healed. So when the emotions come, raw, strange, untethered, don't shame them. Welcome them like lost messengers returning from distant lives. Because sometimes, the tears you cry today are for a sorrow you never had the chance to grieve before. Sign 10. A deep, unshakable pull toward spirituality. You were never taught to seek the divine. It was simply there, inside you. Even as a child, you gazed at the stars and felt something sacred watching back. You questioned death not with fear, but with wonder. You were drawn to temples, ancient symbols, silence, candles, the rhythm of chants, the pages of books that spoke of things no school ever dared to teach. You didn't learn spirituality, you remembered it. This quiet calling isn't about religion, it's a soul memory, an echo from lives spent in devotion, reflection, or mystical service. Perhaps you were once a monk in the mountains, a priestess in a forgotten temple, a seeker wandering deserts with only faith as your guide. These lives imprint the soul with a longing for the sacred. That's why modern life often feels too loud, too hollow, too distracted. Your soul isn't trying to escape reality. It's trying to bring something deeper into it. You don't just want peace. You want truth. You don't just crave answers. You want understanding. And so you return to the sacred, lifetime after lifetime, to keep finding the divine in everything. Sign 11, repeating life patterns that demand to be seen. You keep meeting the same type of person, the same heartbreaks, the same struggles with money, love, control, or loss. Different faces, different places, but always the same lesson. It's easy to call it bad luck, or karma, or coincidence. But what if it's none of those? What if these patterns are the soul's curriculum? Sacred themes left incomplete in lifetimes before, now returning with new players so you can finally graduate. A betrayal not healed becomes mistrust that ruins love. Power not understood becomes cycles of abuse or submission. Abandonment not faced becomes fear that controls your every bond. The soul doesn't punish. It repeats until the lesson is fully seen, felt, forgiven, and integrated. It will find new ways to echo through your story. And once you recognize it, truly recognize it, the pattern no longer owns you. The cycle ends. That is reincarnation's deepest offering. Not just to remember who you were, but to evolve into who you were always meant to be. Sign 12. The feeling that this isn't your first time here. There's something you've always known, a feeling so quiet it barely has words, but it's there. You look around at this world, its joys, its suffering, its chaos, and somewhere deep down, you think, I've done this before. Not in arrogance, in awareness. You feel the seasons turning and sense their meaning. You witness a stranger's pain, and it moves you more than it should. You experience moments of uncanny knowing, as if the movie of your life is being replayed on loop, and you already know how it ends. This doesn't make you strange, it makes you ancient. Because beneath all the roles you've played, the names, the stories, the costumes of culture and time, you've always been the same presence, the same soul, the same spark that keeps choosing to return, to love again, to learn again, to make different choices, to heal what was once left undone, to become something truer, freer, and more whole than before. You've come far, and if you feel it, even slightly, that this life is just one thread in a much larger tapestry, then trust that knowing. Your soul remembers, and now, so do you. These 12 signs are not random. They are soul breadcrumbs, placed lovingly along your path by the deepest part of you. You were never just flesh and memory. You were always spirit in motion. And if even one of these signs rang true, your soul has already begun to awaken, not to escape this life, but to finally live it with the wisdom of every life you've ever known. So breathe. Be gentle with yourself. You're not behind. You're not lost. You are ancient, returning once more, to remember, to rise, and to walk this earth with new eyes. If this journey stirred something in you, if you felt seen, remembered, or held, you're not alone. Others feel it too. Share your story in the comments. Someone else might be waiting to read exactly what your soul has just remembered. And if this voice resonated, if these words felt like a mirror for your unseen self, let this be the beginning. The soul's remembering has only just begun.